How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another After Action Report with RONIN 47R. Today I'm taking a look at the Tier 7 heavy tank, the KV-3. And I was just going through some old footage and thought I would share some cool, fun stuff with you. This is what it looked like when I had my Tier 6 T150, maxed it out, researched it, had enough money for the KV-3, and went ahead and purchased it. So you can see this is exactly what it looks like when you do that. So here I am, grabbing my T150 heavy tank crew, and I'm going to go ahead and spend that 100,000 silver, put them in this tank, and there goes the cinematic sequence. Pretty strong looking tank. Standard Russian blocky, muscular, scary armor tank if you're going up against it. And then, as usual, they ask if you want to go directly into battle or if you want to dismiss that and jump into your garage. I have never, ever jumped straight into battle. I'm a kind of a planner. You know, and so anyways, at this point in time, it's my first time looking at the KV-3, and I was just kind of sniffing out the different packages. You can see it goes all the way up to the D-25T, which is that 122mm gun. It is a Tier 8 gun. This is a Tier 7 tank, so at the the highest end, when it's fully maxed out, you are rolling with a Tier 8 gun, which is pretty darn cool. And there it is. So now what we're doing is we are rolling into a game, and this happens to be the Karelia map. It is a standard battle. Again, I'm a Tier 7 heavy tank. This is the second line of heavy tanks for the Russians that came out for the World of Tanks Xbox 360 edition. And what you see here is there are a few Tier 8 tanks in this game, but we will not let that stop us. Now at this point, if memory serves, I already do have the equipment installed into this tank, and I am, I believe, running with a fully upgraded KV-3. So I am running with the D-25T 122mm gun. So you're looking at I believe it'd be a 175 penetration with a 390 damage. But cruising along, taking the side route that is very, very popular here, the southern eastern end. And I'm going to go ahead and hug the wall there, the side of the hill. And it goes, it has pretty decent speed. You're looking at the low 30s kilometers per hour. Now I'm going to attempt to go up this hill before getting spotted and or shot. I do not want to expose my side as much as possible. Try to keep that covered. Now I had to make a choice. I didn't think that I was going to make it up the hill before being spotted, and in fact, I'm actually surprised that we haven't spotted the enemy yet. Kind of unusual. So what I've chosen to do is kind of the plan B. If I don't go up, then I kind of camp out here for a moment. What you can do sometimes, depending on the tank, the height of the tank, and gun depression, gun elevation, etc., etc., you can go in reverse like I'm doing here and peek up and over this this formation in front of me. Sometimes that works out well as far as keeping yourself hull down. He clipped me what I believe is probably the side of my turret. Absolutely penetrable on the KV-3 to the side of the gun. I've hit a lot of KV-3s there. So sometimes this area works pretty well. Sometimes I'll go forward and just do the typical side scraping. It just depends on what's going on. You have to be dynamic on the battlefield, in my opinion. You cannot just follow one set of rules or strategies. One size does not fit all. Kind of a stalemate. This is more of a realistic battle. A lot of the things that I share with you, sometimes are the flashy fun. I can't believe you guys, missed this, and thank goodness I recorded it and I wanted to share it with you. But, it's just kind of goofy that, a lot of things that we see out there is the best of the best, and in some ways, if you don't keep it in perspective, some of the perhaps newer players, they may think that's how they should always be playing, or that bar is set so high, and it's not really true. You can see the hole there in the turret. You can play for whatever reasons you want to play. I play for fun. Obviously, I do have a sense of sportsmanship or competitiveness, where of course you want to do well, of course. But I am not going to play this game to the extent where I'm going to rage and flip out when things aren't going well. I may not be happy about it, but it is a game after all. And the bottom line is you should be having fun. So some of the videos that I like to share, yes, are the flashy things. But some of the things are, you know, just good old-fashioned average Joe. This is what it looks like when you play this tank sort of games, you know. The folks that might benefit from that, the reason why that I do that is because some folks don't have the KV-3. Some folks are researching in this particular case. Some folks are interested in what does the KV-3 do. So by looking at different you know, YouTubers, different videos that I may have on the same tank, etc., you can see it in different lights. So anyways, it's just my 2 cents. I like to show things you know, from different levels, you know, great games and not so great games, things you should be doing, things you shouldn't be doing. Now right here, this works out really well with the height of the turret and the gun. It really goes nicely over that rock formation in the front, so being hull down in that location for this particular tank is working out great. Also suggest you know, keeping an eye on the map at all times. And you did see earlier this light tank that was swinging around in the rear, which apparently is no longer a problem. Now with that tank destroyer that I just took out, you know, keynote there, the commander's hatch is a very good location to be hitting tanks, and maybe that was actually a heavy tank in retrospect. Either way, we are moving forward because it's a red and he is gone, and that's pretty much all we care about really. So let's go ahead and roll out and move on. The red team, how do I say this nicely? The way the greens were playing and the reds were playing, it turned out to be such that the greens kind of steamrolled over the reds. So I didn't get a lot of play in there in this round. That was not a fully aimed in shot, so that was a pretty good and lucky shot there. Skill-wise, this crew, again, it's the second line of heavy tanks. So this crew does not have a lot of the skills and perks that, say, my main Russian tank crew has, and so I am probably still working on Brothers in Arms, quite possibly at this stage. Now there's only 2 tanks left. I believe it would be a Black Prince out to the front and left, and there's a Tiger 2 up and over the ridge to the front. So here we go. Now I'm not going to drive anywhere too quickly, so I'm going to go ahead, even though this is not the most accurate gun, I'm going to take advantage. You know, whenever I see a target, if I am not in harm's way, and it makes sense for the team as a whole, I'm going to stop and attempt to make those long distance shots. And most of the time, if you're patient, if you have the skills of your, your crews built up, you take your time, most of the time you can do pretty decently, even with, quote, inaccurate guns. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to share this video with you is because, it's a 5 times multiplier, but how fun is it to get over 8,000 experience with one game? And it was a fairly, I should say not fairly, it's a very average game, really. I feel the KV-3 is a very good tank. It's very strong. As my usual disclaimer, nothing, no tank exists that is vulnerable, or excuse me, invulnerable. Every tank can be taken down. Every Goliath can be taken down, so just something to think about. But when used correctly, which is usually the Russian brawling style of in your face, keep moving, don't let them hit your sensitive spots. A lot of times this tank will bounce. I'm really happy with it. But onwards and upwards. Eventually, of course, I will get the KV-4, which in real life, at the time of this commentary, I do have. But we're always striving to move on, but I'm going to keep these tanks because I do enjoy playing at tier 7, tier 8. I mean, I love all the tiers, but there are some tiers that I enjoy playing more than others. Now, on this particular map, I'm going to go ahead and point out that I really enjoy, and it depends on the team, depends on if I'm platooning, depends on the tank, etc., etc. Because again, you must stay dynamic. But oftentimes, I find that going in this direction really suits my needs to go towards the northwest direction here when I spawn at this location. A couple of reasons why. You do get that height advantage, so you do have the ability to peer down. Granted, remember the rule is if I can see you, they can, if I can see you, you can see me. Typically, that is the possibility without getting into splitting hairs over, view ranges and whatnot. But line of sight is, after all, line of sight. So when I have a tank destroyer, or in this case a heavy tank that is eventually going to move further west, you know, you do have to expose yourself, so that is one of the drawbacks, but I like, whenever possible, to take the high ground. You know, we hear the cliche, or we hear the rule, if you will, and I loosely use the word rule, about taking the high ground, but does anybody really understand what that means? Without going into a whole giant, I don't know, master's thesis on the high ground, because that has been a rule, a good rule. Nice blind shot there. I anticipated where he was driving. You know, but it's been a good rule. I don't care if you're throwing sticks or stones, arrows, or 122 millimeter rounds. You know, why is it that it's always been take the high ground? Well, one of the things, focusing just on World of Tanks, is if I am at the higher elevation and I'm looking down at you, I'm shooting not at the front of your armor, you know, from a horizontal, you know, lateral standpoint. I'm aiming down at an angle, or depending on how close I am, maybe not even at you know, much of an angle, but I'm aiming at and shooting at the top portion of your hull. You know, engine decks, the part that meets the turret meets the hull in the front or around it, and those areas are well or less well armored than when you are on level ground and you are facing off with someone and you're shooting, you know, the exact, you know, front of a tank from a horizontal position. So top down is way better. You have more access to sensitive things like hatches, you know, and on and on. Now, furthermore, and I can't attest to this, I can only think about real life. I can't, again, let me stress, I cannot swear, promise, verify that the developers have put this aspect that I'm going to share with you into the game. But commonsensically, at least in real life, remember, if it's true, here's my thought process. If it's true that I lose penetration ability over longer distances, as I would in real life, you know, because obviously you lose energy as the object is in motion. It's being acted upon by, you know, wind resistance, gravity, so on and so on. So you are losing your penetration ability because it's losing its kinetic energy. So I get that. That makes sense. And that is built into the game. But again, if I am shooting top down, would it not stand to reason, and I know this for a fact in real life, but would it not stand to reason to be also true in the game, that if I am shooting down at a target, I am losing less penetration because I have less forces acting against my shell, whereas if I am shooting up at a target, I have more forces acting against my shell. So, you know, shooting up, I'm going against gravity. Shooting down at a target, you know, gravity's helping me. It's not hurting me in that case. So I don't know. Bottom line is, higher ground, you can view, you can peer over your hull down. You got positives there. You have access to your enemy soft spots. You know, these are all truths. So when in doubt, try to get the high ground. And that's what I like about that particular region of the map on this particular map. Ooh, he just beat me to the punch. Really wanted that. Now here's an IS-3 off in the distance. 476 is the distance. Look at the slow reload, but can be worse. You know, that's just over 10 seconds for the reload in my KV-3. However, that same gun in other tanks sometimes are up to 13 or over 13 seconds. Now here's an IS-3, something that you may or may not know. It does have what is called the piked shape front hull armor. That means, think of it as the roof of a shed, you know, the roof of a house where it has the peak in the middle and it slants down to the sides. Well, unlike your typical tank, because it has that shape, you're not going to want to angle it when driving the IS-3. Conversely, when you are shooting at it, you're always going to want to aim at that hull, or if you're going to aim at the hull, you're going to want to aim at it in a region, in a place, and at an angle where you can attempt to always hit it at a 90 degrees. And that's true for anything. Always try to hit a target at 90 degrees because you are taking away its effective armor characteristic. Hopefully that makes sense, and that was in English. But anyway, so you know, taking some pop shots from afar. Looks like obviously we're going to win, but I never assume anything when I am going up against an adversary, in this case the Reds, but anyone I go up against, I never assume. And I never take for granted, because it is not over until it is over, and I have much respect for, you know, those that can do me harm. If they coordinate, you just never know. I mean, you don't know what the green team's going to do. You know, they can figuratively drop the ball, fumble it, you know. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is head forward. Now, what you may have noticed, not a complaint, just a fact, is that I was really by myself for a long time on that map, in that portion there. I was the only one really pushing. And I didn't understand why, but I didn't want to go deeper without some backup. Finally, there are some folks who are still, what, 100 meters away from me, and one person is 150, and then so on to the, I believe, the south. But now that we're closing in, that's going to assist me, because theoretically I will have guns on target, which is good, because that'll put an enemy down quicker. And two, and also I would think more importantly, because I don't have to rely on their aim, is when a bad guy sees many good guys, it helps me do my job, because they are more distracted. Now, Tiger 2 just hit me in the side hull. I did not like that at all. And I'm not going to say I'm nervous, but I'm definitely thinking, hey, you know, you got to slow this down, think about it. I'm trying to keep as much buildings, huts, whatnot, between me and the folks to the south. The IS-3 is the immediate threat. I do not know what he's going to do. And I'm still getting nailed by that Tiger 2, who has quite a punch. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to keep the strongest armor towards the Tiger 2, and I have the topography to the right. That's going to help shield me against the IS-3. Notice I am not detected or sixth sensed, which tells me that I am, for all intents and purposes, invisible at this time. Now, hopefully the IS-3 driver is not a good one, and he has forgot about his situational awareness and has lost track of me. Who knows? Now, if I was him, I would be checking to see if I'm still on the board as being alive, even if I don't see him. Anyways, but here we go. So what am I going to do? I have no idea where he's looking. There it is. Confirmed he is looking away. It's going to take him a while to turn the turret anyway. Let's try to ram. Only a 182, which doesn't hurt, but wasn't a lot. And then, of course, after the ram, finished off with a shot. Now we just have one guy left. And with my speed and the KV-3, I do not hold my breath that I will seek him out, especially since we have so many greens that are alive. They'll probably run into him way before me. And look at that. He's on the other side of the map. That's not going to happen for me. And he's gone. Spotted and taken care of. So, you know, it was a good game. This was just another, to me, average game. This is just a, and it's not a bad thing. You know, it's just a, you know, your average, just using good strategies, trying to get your team to work together and stay out of harm's way while inflicting damage. If I'm coming out on the plus side, that's a good thing. Now, silver-wise, this was a very, very low silver game. You know, you're just at 28,000. Experience-wise, I'm pretty happy with it, though. But I came in third. I just, you know, when it comes to silver, just perhaps I just didn't get enough play time. You know, but it is what it is. And as usual, I hope you enjoyed this little after-action report. Okay, girls, tell them who they are if they're receiving this transmission.
You are one of the 47 Ronin. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.